It's movie news. Yeah.
I guess
it's been. Well, there's a
Should we?
guess. There's a big there's a breath happening before the Mandalorian drops because we did get the poster. It's a new poster for. I know it's not movie news, but
that was my breath.
The deep breath before the storm. I don't know what I'm saying right now.
You
actually.
did more like Vader.
Yeah.
But the first poster for The Mandalorian, it's, you know what they do with these posters, right? They drop these posters, and we're getting ready for the trailer. So around 2:30 today, I believe the panel is, where they're going to announce the Disney Plus streaming services and whatnot. Mandalorian, obviously, is the big one that everybody's looking forward to. What do you think of the poster?
My favorite part of the poster is the bottom where they're talking about everything they own, like Disney plus Pixar plus Marvel plus Star Wars plus National Geographic plus you. Kidding. That doesn't say you.
They
Plus
should have,
the
though.
sun.
They really missed that opportunity.
November 12th, so we have that date. I do like the logo with the guy walking. Now, the only way this poster could be better is if the Mandalorian was holding his hand up like Judd Hurt or Judd.
Judd Nelson.
Breakfast Club.
Judd Nelson.
Judd Nelson.
Yeah.
Thanks. It's like,
And then it freezes.
yeah. He's got it up like, hey guys, I graduated Mandalorian high school and I'm crushing it.
It's actually a pretty cool poster.
It is.
Yeah.
I did.
Yeah.
I like it.
Yeah, I actually kind of because you know those the superhero posters is usually just like their face and they're just looking broody.
Totally.
It's just boring.
What's Disney Plus going to cost?
$6.99.
$100.
Yeah. I know what they're doing too. They're gonna get us in there with the $6.99, and then they're gonna up that shit.
Well, they have the
Of
ESPN
course.
Plus and the ABC Plus. I mean,
Yeah, I know. There's bundles, and I'm
there's
sure,
gonna be
but
bundles. I
that
guarantee you, Disney Plus by 2025 will still not be above $10.99. I'll put it right now. Yes.
Okay.
Okay,
I
so
like
here's
this.
the other question: is the entire Disney library on demand on Disney Plus? Like,
I believe
I'd be
so.
like, I'm
It
gonna
will
go
be.
watch Moana. I'm
Correct.
gonna.
Yes.
That's all. I was
What
just gonna watch
about
Moana.
all the older stuff? Like, can I go see Snow White? And
Yes.
Yeah,
Like-
that's what I'm saying. Like,
for
the
sure.
All
stuff
of that
that's
will
What
be there.
about? I have a question though. What about the stuff that they've re-edited? Because I don't like the re-edited stuff.
Dorina, I don't work at fucking
I'm just
Disney.
saying.
So
Well,
when
Josh,
when you
you
took
should
your
know
job at
this.
Disney,
I mean, I would imagine they will have every Disney property, and maybe now here's the thing: maybe some of those re-editeds are like, here's a 99-cent tier that you have to go to, like a Patreon. There might be some like, hey,
Right.
welcome to Delta. It's $4.99 to walk on. No, that's Spirit. Sorry, welcome to Spirit.
God, Spirit.
In order to breathe, it's $7.99. Here's your oxygen, kind of a thing. I don't know if that's what it'll be like on Disney Plus, but I would imagine there will be pay tiers for certain things. Now, all of the animated movies, all of the Disney Plus, all of the Disney Kids shows, Disney Channel,
Disney family
I know
movies.
Christian and I are looking for Brink. If they bring back some of those Disney Channel original movies.
Oh yeah,
Pup
we're
and
already
Suds.
talking about it.
Team
we're
Pup
doing
and
all
Suds.
those. We're doing commentaries on all
Yeah.
the Disney Channel.
Hey
original
Christian,
movies.
Yeah.
which one's the best one?
Ooh, Disney Channel originals.
Yeah.
Ooh, okay.
I
Ooh,
pretty noticed
Brink is
that.
good. 13th Year is good. Smart House. Cadet Kelly.
Oh, Cadet Kelly is pretty good.
Motocross.
What the hell are you talking
These
about?
are some
Yeah.
really good
Whoa, this
originals.
missed
Suzy
me.
Q.
I don't know
Suzy Q
any of
wasn't
these
bad.
things.
Yeah, this
I have
really
no
missed
idea
me.
what you're talking
I have.
about.
I mean, yeah.
I watched a
doesn't
lot of
sound like
Disney
any.
Channel way late in life. Like in college, we get high and watch Disney Channel. It's great. Even Stevens, fantastic.
even Steven, I've heard of though.
I've heard of it,
Other
but I
ones.
haven't heard of any.
Christian, how old is Christian? Christian, how old?
27.
27.
Ugh.
Got 10 years on
Yeah,
it.
well, that's
I
why.
don't deal with people with a 2 on the front
Same.
anymore.
Join that. 27
Go ahead. You
plus
can
two.
mute my mic over there. You can mute it. I don't care.
A few years back, it was I think it was the WonderCon before Force Awakens.
Oh.
I waited in line to ask John Schnapp and John Campy and Christian Harloff and Mark Ellis as a joke. My question was, what if Force Awakens isn't good? Okay? And they said, and like the whole room was like, what? That can't happen. Could it? Could it happen?
And the millions of nerds
Now,
screamed in.
All of the people behind The Mandalorian, I'm huge fans of. So I can't imagine this not being any good. Okay?
But what if?
But what I'm saying is, does this appeal? Because I've said it a billion times on the show. I'm sure somebody thinks, here he comes. The common TV person is not watching The Mandalorian. If you're not a Star Wars fan, you are not watching the show. Now I know
Really?
there's a huge. I
actually think Josh
like
got-
nothing about this show is like, oh my god, the Mandal. I don't know what that means.
That Josh brings up a good point. Surprisingly, no, I'm kidding, because you did like yacht rock. But I think it's actually a good point because if you don't even know what a Mandalorian is, because you just know Han, Luke, and Leia,
Yeah.
or even the new characters like Rey or whatever. Like that's all you know. Like if you're only a fan of the movies and you're not a fan of the expanded universe, or if you read the books or anything like that,
Totally.
that's actually like it's not gonna be like Game of Thrones.
I don't know.
Well,
It-
that's
look,
what I'm saying. Isn't there something about an epic
gonna
adventure
be a season
that
2
is
already.
appealing to
Yes.
the common?
What's appealing, I believe, will be the Star Wars above the title there.
Right.
I think people then, the common fans, I always go to my mother. But I think also people that might be casual can look at this from far away and go, I recognize that guy. Isn't that like Boba Fett? You know what I mean? They might
Boba
looks,
Fett.
you know, similar costume. He looks, you know, it's
My
Mandalorian, right?
My brother is a way bigger Star Wars fan than me.
Right.
Right? Okay. So he sees this and he's like, okay, I know the Mandalorian. It's still my brother who's a bigger Star Wars fan.
Yeah, but I think the Star Wars is going to get you. So even if you don't know the Mandalorian, never heard of it, never watched Clone Wars, Rebels, where they were introduced, never maybe have seen Return of the Jedi and Empire Strikes Back and New Hope like years ago once or twice, and yeah, I know that. I think that the Star Wars stuff, like, ooh, first live action, and they were doing this, first live action Star Wars TV series, so they're kind of putting that up there.
They put a Star Wars in front of Solo.
Yeah, but
I mean, it still made a lot of money, but it
Right.
didn't do
But
the same
not to
thing.
them.
It didn't have Harrison
It didn't
Ford.
make billions.
That's
It's
the problem.
true.
I mean, that's the thing.
It's true.
It's-
Let me ask you this. Do you think people will sign on? Now, this has always been my biggest problem
Yeah.
from the trailer, and I don't know if he's ever going to take off his mask. But if he keeps his mask on the whole time,
yeah.
are people going to buy onto a show where he's just in that friggin' mask?
Yeah, depending on what it's got to be
That's
the
always
quality.
been my biggest issue.
Who knew? But who was reading the Game of? I mean, there was a lot of Game of Thrones book readers.
They reshot
Right.
that pilot once. They
They-
shot
right.
it, and then they recast and shot it again.
There you go. So I think that once word of mouth spreads, if it's good, I think people will sign up. And I think with Disney Plus, you're going to get your Star Wars nerds. They're going to sign up because of that. Then you're going to get your Marvel nerds. They're going to sign up because of Loki.
Which is a
then
lot
you're
of
gonna
Venn
get
diagram synergy.
Right.
Yeah.
And then you're going to get people like my fiance who, when I was telling her about this, I'm like, I'm really excited about this. She looked at that and went, well, is Cinderella going to be on there?
Yeah.
And I went, probably, yeah. And she went, oh, we're getting this in, right?
Right.
So we have that version. I think that's what Disney Plus is banking on. This is just one
I
of the
get
perks.
what Disney Plus is banking on. All of that makes total sense. What I'm getting at here is, does The Mandalorian push a social narrative that isn't just Star Wars fan?
Yeah, no, it's interesting. I don't know what will happen, obviously, but I'm curious because the reason Game of Thrones became successful is not only because it was quality show and it was epic and fantasy, but it was also on HBO, right? Which
Right.
a lot of people already had. So
Right.
this is like Disney's banking on people signing up for this particular thing.
And it had an end game,
Right.
right? The entire point of watching Game of Thrones was to see who sat on the throne at the end.
Right.
Everybody that kept buying on, like, who's going to
Yeah,
be?
what
who's
a
it gonna
what a
be?
great ending it was.
Fantastic.
Not controversial at all.
I mean, I called the ending. I
You knew.
2.5 years before what was going to happen.
Oh
I
my
knew it.
God.
And
Are
I
you
didn't
the
see
three-eyed
it.
raven?
I am. Thank you. They call me Josh the Broken. I'm just saying, for me, like, is there going to be an end game for The Mandalorian? What does this look like? Is this just going to be like more Star Wars to throw into canon? Because as soon as somebody brings up Star Wars canon to me,
you tune out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
because I don't want that.
Because you're the casual movie fan. You're not-
Am
you're
I
not
supposed to
this.
go into the show having known all of this stuff before?
Right.
Because I think that's some kind of a disservice to bringing in new fans.
Yes.
So they're probably going to be smart about that, right? They're
I
probably,
get it.
hope.
They're not, yeah, and you can't. If they're gonna start this thing with like sweaty, deep cut stuff, like you had to read the comic to understand the Mandalorian. No, they're not. They're
They're
gonna.
not gonna do
It's
that.
gonna be pretty accessible, I believe. You're gonna walk into it knowing, and maybe there's some title card
Yeah.
that works as a kind of a crawl, but a little different. Whatever they're gonna do in that, that's like. You know, it's the aftermath of the fall of the Empire and
Right.
Return of the Jedi. You know, they're going to lay it out for you.
And
so
if
I think,
anything, it'll also just be cool to see, this type of big epic TV making is on this scale. Like it's Game of Thrones. Whatever you think of it, I was not a fan of the end or the last season, but it looked amazing.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
just for the cinematic experience alone, if you're a fan of filmmaking, I think people like that's why I'm more interested in watching it than
and
anything
the
else.
curious. The
Because
curious
they
that
have the
might-
budget to do it. So
And look, my mother is a perfect example. She sees all the Star Wars movies. Okay, she'll see them once, and so she knows Star Wars, obviously. But this might be a curious thing too. It's like there's a Star Wars show that I can watch. What's that about?
That's
Mark?
not animated.
That's not animated. Sure, a little bit more maybe accessible for people that aren't going to watch Rebels or Clone Wars. I think
Right.
it's going to. We'll see.
No,
but I think it's
Also,
going to crush.
Isn't all of television just like relationships, right? So
Mm-hmm.
like what relationship? I mean, that's the thing is like like it's why a show like This Is Us, which I have no interest in, but like it does so well because it's all about these relationships.
Totally.
And Game of Thrones, it's
Yeah.
all about the it's you know
100%.
that's what makes improv good
Yes.
too.
Yeah.
Is when you focus on the relationship.
Totally.
So
To stand up in his audience,
So
the
what,
relationship with the audience.
are we going to care about the relationship in this? That may be all that it needs is just relationships that we care about.
But
to
And
wanna
characters
tune
that you
in,
care
and
about. Yeah,
characters that we
exactly.
care
Totally.
about. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I get it. I mean, you got 10 episodes to build this thing. It doesn't have to be, we got to get the Death Star for the 9th time. Do you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
they've
No.
got more stuff.
What if
they
there's a
can do.
Death Star in every episode?
Out of all the shows that you can maybe compare to Game of Thrones, I think this is kind of one that you can look at as a similar maybe world, like dark, gritty, more adult, serious.
Well, on the
And-
same
A lot
scale of budget as well.
incest. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
there it
Lots
is.
of incest.
Kids like, if there's no incest in Mandalorian,
There's
I'm not
I'm-
watching.
You know what? I'm just gonna turn it right off if there's no incest. I need one sister being penetrated by one brother at least.
There it is. Well, we got a
Thank you,
good.
Richard.
It's a good.
It's
it
okay,
might
you're in your
happen.
20s.
It's on Disney, so you never know.